Well, 2 decades separated two of the greatest Rams basketball teams, the 1970-1971 Rams and the 1990-1991 Rams. Today, Jack Burik from 71 and Jay Fazande from 91 join current Ram senior guard Josh Navarro. Thanks, guys, for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
Jack, let's start with you. What does being a Fordham Hall of Famer mean to you specifically?
Well, when I look back at my career and the people and the whole experience in New York and the great school, Fordham, academically, which really set me up for my future careers, it's just, I've just been blessed. It's like God's will. And I don't know if you know my story about my mom. She's still living, by the way. My mom and dad came to my games, and she used to always, we're very, very Catholic, and she used to always give Digger Phelps, and this is one of the main reasons we won and we're so successful. I'm sure you probably guys know what a scapula is, especially over in Ireland, right? A scapula.
Yep.
Good luck and make sure the spirit is with you. And I have a lot of great stories at Boston College and down at Madison Square Garden, which is, I'm not sure some the young people know, but that was the first college sellout in the history of the Garden, the Mecca of basketball. And we played Notre Dame and beat their asses with Austin Carr that night. And it was a night, the treasure, my senior year with Charlie Y, the great superstar player we had, and 19,500 people. Can you believe it? And then about 5 days later, we played the number 2 team in the nation, undefeated Marquette, and unfortunately lost in overtime. We'd have probably we'd have been up there as number 2 in the country. So I just feel blessed, and it was like God's will. I went to a great Jesuit school my whole life. Academically, I was involved with Catholic schools, grade school. My team won the state championship, Pennsylvania, Little St. Malachi, coached by my dad. I'm the son of a point guard. I'm a point guard of a coach, and then I went to high school, Catholic high school, and I was a lawyer from Pittsburgh that went to Fordham. And he kind of scouted me, and our great coach and recruiter was Johnny Bach, of course. He was an assistant with Phil Jackson and great, Mike Jordan. And he recruited me because he needed a point guard. Now, back then, we only had 3 years of eligibility, which had negative things and positive things. It helped me mature a great deal. And that took a lot of pressure off my freshman year to be introduced to college that way. But unfortunately, for my records and so forth, I was the assist king for a while there. I only had 3 years. So I think I averaged about 7 or 8, assists a game. But what it did was help us bring the freshman class. People used to come to see us play instead of the varsity. That's how good we were. And they knew we were, good from Charlie Y particularly, and Billy Boehner, and eventually Kenny Charles, the great team we ended up having. But it was a great way to be introduced to college. And do they still have FOS, by the way, on campus? Because that's where all the athletes stay, including PJ Carlos, my best friend. You know PJ? I hope you guys know PJ, the great coach.
I do.
Okay, so he played basketball. he played basketball. Is that Fuzzy?
Yep.
Yeah. Played basketball and baseball with me. He never played basketball because we were too good. He was the 3rd string point guard, But he was a nice guy to know because he had tickets to the Knicks games, tickets to the Mets. He had tickets for the New York Giants, tickets for everything. And, back then, I used to stay with him down in Cherry Hill. So he was a lifelong friend, PJ Carlissimo. But New York was unbelievable. Johnny Bach picked me up at the airport. He was best friends with Angela Lansbury at Maine. I had a steak dinner, and I said, boom, this is it. I'm going to Fordham. And the guys I got to meet, and the rest is history. I was also blessed to be coached. Digger was a great coach by Gil McDougall. Now he's since passed away. Gil McDougall played for the New York Yankees, and was a Pittsburgh Pirate fan. In fact, I was a pretty good baseball player. I ended up playing in the Met system, and I was some kind of All-American at baseball. But Gil was my my coach there. So I had 2 great coaches. 3 actually: Johnny Bach, Gil McDougall, and the great Digger Phelps. Now Digger was only 29 years old, And what made him and our team special was Digger realized our talent. We were playing slow, half-court, man-to-man defense. He changed us to 94 feet. Quick story, we played the great Julius Erving, Dr. J, with Rick Pitino sitting on the bench up in Massachusetts, Amherst, Massachusetts. And the way Rick Pitino plays at Louisville, eventually, he was only a freshman and he couldn't play, was the way we played. We played at 94 feet. And 7 guys played, we pressed you, fell back to a really hard half-court man, and we ran all day. We were in great condition. And Digger had like hundreds of drills that would practice all the time. So that made us a little bit different. And another thing I would like to mention is, and I ended up coaching a long time, basketball and baseball, about the importance of role playing. Everyone had a role, on our team. I was obviously point guard. I was only 5'10". We had Billy Mayer was our defensive specialist. You should see the job he did on Austin Carr. He was still the record holder in the in the NCAA tournament. And then the great Charlie Overton. And then we had Bart Waterwitz, who was a sophomore, really good player, and Tommy Sullivan, who ended up becoming the coach at UMBC. So we blended, we had our roles, and we played hard every game and just enjoyed playing with each other. And we were all from successful backgrounds. All of us were on championship teams. And I think that's an important thing, to know your roles and to play hard. And, we had leadership from the captains, the tri-captains, and we just knew we were good, but we didn't know how good. And we blended together well, and of course, sacrificed a lot, and really came together that final year. So it was just unbelievable. We were the darlings of New York. I mean, it's hard to realize when you have the whole city behind you, what a great thing that was at the time. And like I said, it was terrific for me, a different time in my life, to go to a fantastic school at Fordham. And I was a political science major with economics, and I got into financial services as a career, and actually ended up teaching at a high school for 20 years where I played ball. And I just had a great experience at Fordham. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Mentioned some of those great memories. Jay, what were some of those for you?
Well, I can't follow that now. I just think I'm thankful for my teammates that I played with, because as a point guard, I had to pretty much run the show, make sure Jean Prelude gets his shots, make sure Freddie Herzog got his. Damon and Sanford, if I didn't get them shots, they were looking at me. You know what I mean? And Coach McCarchuk was different. You know what I mean? He was on me, and it was sort of by fear, but it worked. You didn't want to lose and have practice that night or the next day. So it was good. And like you said, playing in New York and winning at that time, it's unbelievable. Like, you can't even describe it, because everywhere you go, someone's gonna know you, or someone's gonna see you. And like I said, going to the Knicks games and all that stuff, people stop you. Like, I remember one time we went to the Nets game when Kenny Anderson was playing. His highlights when he got drafted was all against me. So I had a good relationship with him. So when we went to the game, we had a big chat after the game, because he wasn't playing that much at the time. But, he remembered us because we battled them in the Garden when I think they lost in the Final Four to UNLV that year. But just the friendships that was made, I still have to this day. Teammates, and just being in New York City, winning was an unbelievable experience.
Yep.
All three of you here, including Josh, who's a senior, those smaller, crafty type of guards. Can you go back and forth a little bit about that style of play and what makes it so different?
Yeah. I feel like you have to do everything perfectly compared to another guard who's 6'3", 6'2". I mean, as the room of error has to be very small compared to a bigger guard, and you expect it more. Like, coach would expect more from you than he would expect from bigger guard. So I feel like those two things are huge when it comes to your game. You can be crafty, you can shoot the ball, you can do all these things, but I feel like the error margin when it comes to a smaller guard has to be very slim. So
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think another important thing was making sure that you're respected by your coaches and your teammates, because that goes a long way, and they'll make up for some of the shortcomings you might have as a player by having the respect of your teammates. They know that you're going to do the right thing, even if you don't know if you're doing the right thing, because you're so respected, they'll follow your lead, which makes a big difference in the way the game is controlled and all that kind of stuff. I know, speaking on my behalf, I wasn't the quickest, I wasn't the most athletic, but I think I outsmarted all of the guys that I played against. So I didn't have to be fast. You just had to get to your spots where you could score and make the right decision, know when to get people the ball, when not to give them the ball, and just be a leader. So I know the biggest thing I learned in college was, in order to keep people happy, you have to get them the ball. But in order for them to get the ball, like if you have post players, if you don't get the next 3 rebounds, I'm not running the play for you. And then they'll get the 3 rebounds and you reward them. So just stuff like that, using your brain a bit more than your actual skills sometimes carries you to that next level that might make your team successful.
And Jay, let me butt in here regarding those big guys. You got to keep them happy, right? So when they're running a fast break with you and that guy's filling that last lane, he wants that ball to finish and score, right? And if you don't give it to him, but like you say, you want the ball in your hands. I think that's good advice for any point guard. You want to be a leader. And, that's like in our case, I don't know if you guys know this, but do you know that we are still, Fordham University, 1971, is still, with all the thousands of games played in NCAA basketball tournament, we are still the record holders. You can't do better than this, 22 for 22. Okay, so at the end of the game, I think that's important too for a point guard. With the ball in your hands, you want to get fouled. You want to get to that foul line because you know you're going to make it. And the team's dependent on you making that shot. And if you can't shoot, you better get it in someone's hands that can. Now, what's different, a little different now, you got the 3-point. I wish I had the 3-point line because that was pretty outstanding. We didn't have that. And there was no 30-second clock. So we could hold the ball. We would get early leads on team, and at the end of the game, because we shot the ball so well at the foul line, you couldn't beat us at the end of the game in the last minute. We were pretty good ball handlers, but we never missed too many foul shots. So it's very important for a point guard, like yourself, to be able to shoot a high percentage. And I looked at your stats, and I think you're about 76%.
77,
right?
something like that.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, myself, we were all in 70s, but I think it was about 72. And that's pretty good foul shooting, especially at the end of the game when you played, like, you played hard and everything and they foul you, but it's all routine, of course, like,
It's the point guard's job to finish the game. So
absolutely. I agree. Yeah. You got to take that upon yourself because, as Jay said, you have to be the leader. The team is dependent. That's your role as the point guard. And if you want to give that up, then you'll probably be sitting on the bench. I mean, you got to be strong, strong-willed, but, that's a very important aspect of being a point guard.
Guys, appreciate the time. Thanks for a couple minutes, and thanks for tying together a couple generations here of Fordham basketball.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for having me.